Hey, welcome to episode 64 of the Reluctant Leader podcast. Listen, this is a place where we talk about leadership and faith and life when you're trying to follow Jesus, lead people, and still figure out what in the world you're doing, right? Let me ask you something. Have you ever been moving so fast, like leading, producing, fixing, serving, that you actually forgot that you have a body? It's a weird question, I know, but like you love God, you trust Scripture, you believe the Spirit is at work, but your shoulders are tight, jaws clenched, your soul feels tired, and you just can't quite name why. Well, today's conversation is for that leader. I'm sitting down with Magdalene Mastin. Now, I get to call her Maggie because we've become friends through our doctoral cohort. We're going to talk about embodied faith, what it means to really listen to what your body is telling you. This is one of those conversations that's not going to just give you something to think about. It's going to invite you to breathe, to notice, maybe even slow down a notch. So I invite you to grab some coffee, take a deep breath, and join my conversation with Maggie Mastin. Maggie, it's good to see you again. I was going to try to introduce you, but let me just say what I know, right? So you are a professional life coach. I'm going to be asking you about that. You're a spiritual director. And then I thought, like, you have enough interests, hobbies, side jobs, and credentials to fill a couple of paragraphs. So instead of me reading all of that, I'm just going to say, welcome to the Reluctant Leader podcast, and give you a second just to kind of introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, Paul, thanks so much for having me. I love chatting with you, so this feels like a very fun way to continue chatting. I have a hard time describing who I am or what I do, which is funny because one of the things I do is help people figure out who they are and what they want to do. But yes, spiritual director, life coach. I often describe myself as a serial job hopper, a type A creative. I love being in spaces where I'm equipping other people to do what it is that they feel called or want to do in their life.
Yeah.
So that looks like spiritual direction, where we're exploring how God is working in someone's life and how they want to respond to that. It looks like coaching, exploring our own desires and goals and moving towards that in whatever actionable steps you want to take. It looks like teaching. I work at Indiana Wesleyan University. I'm the director of career development. So in the classroom, my own classroom, or with first-year students, or across campus in all divisions, we often use the phrase practical pathways to purposeful work. So equipping students with whatever they would need, which more often than not is a connection and a conversation, not as much a resume and the perfect experience. We really push that it's not what you know, it's not even who you know, but it's who knows you. And it's really hard for people to know you if you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
So kind of equipping spaces for exploration. And on top of all of that, I thought I was going to be a dance teacher at a fine art magnet school back during the days of like Step Up and Save the Last Dance, showing my age here. But I thought I was going to be one of those really cool educators in a big city. But then my hips hurt all the way through college when I was dancing. So shifted to using my creativity and especially creativity that was really embodied, whether it was theater or dance, into how our body informs our decision-making and informs our relationships. That's a little bit of a long answer, but it's hard to make a succinct answer. I can give you some roles that I play, but that's a bit wider.
I noticed while you're talking that you and I didn't realize we had this in common, but sore hips, that's exactly the same reason why I stopped pursuing professional dance as well. Well, and also I can't dance, so that would be the other reason.
Well, apparently I'm a better teacher than a dancer anyway. I really just, it doesn't quite come out the way I think it's going to.
I tell people at my church all the time, I have two problems. I can't dance and I can't stop. And that's not a good combination at all. So like they're always playing like, bumper music. We have at our church, we do like, we do welcome people, praise and worship, all that kind of stuff. But in the middle of worship and the sermon, like when the kids are going out, we have an intermission, like literally like go get some more coffee, bring it back in. They're always playing like this really cool bumper music. And so I'm always like on the platform in front of the entire church, trying not
Moving.
to dance, but you just have to, you got to feel it. And
Yes.
it's terrifying for all the people in the congregation, I'm sure, but
I'm
I
sure
didn't
it's
know
a
that.
gift to you and maybe even to them that you are able to move your body like that. Like if I've had a hard session with a client or class didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, like I come in my office, I shut the door, whatever song I need, or maybe just a rhythm, and like move my body to release and process. When I don't do that, when we don't do the movement, it like just gets stuck. We need that movement to
Yeah.
process what
I,
we experience.
I'd love to explore that a little bit more with you because I guess like phrases like embodied faith, the movement of the body. I don't know that I've always been like disconnected, like let's just focus on the spirit and forget about the body. I mean, I know that I have one, but one of the most fascinating things I've read, I think it's from that 7.5 lessons or whatever, that book that we had to read. By the way, Maggie's another one of my fellow students in our doctoral cohort. My listeners are here and meeting all kinds of cool people as I do these interviews. But she says in that book that the main purpose of the brain is to keep the body alive, that the brain is housed in. And I just never thought about that. Like it's so important that we're connecting all of it, like we're holistic in our approach. And you mentioned that you like to help people in your life coaching to just kind of integrate body, soul, imagination. So I wanted to ask you, and you can just answer, just talk to me because I need to hear this answer. So how do leaders like myself, what happens when we miss that connection, right? And how would it help us to bring that connection back into the way that we lead our congregations?
Yeah, I love that you're asking that question. And I can't cite this well for those who want the actual data. Um, but it's something like 400 times, some crazy number of messages that our body, the experience of being a physical being, right, sends to our brain than what our body can actually, like what we can cognitively process. So
Wow.
that's why we find those gifts of like slowing down and stillness and noticing, which is actually in one of the other books for our upcoming semester.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Practice, I think I have it in my backpack. I'll pull it out in a minute. But I think it's Catherine Liebert, and I just even read her little section on it this morning. That we live in tension between having a body and being a body.
Mm.
And so, as leaders, as just humans in the room with another human, right? If we can take a moment to notice what our body is telling us about what we're experiencing, then we have more data for choosing how we want to respond
Yeah.
to a situation. Um, my co-worker and I have developed a training session for our students on campus that we call Conflict Lab. And we intentionally kind of make these jarring statements and then we make them choose a side.
Okay.
And what the first thing we ask them to do is, okay, when we said that thing, and then we said, where do you stand on it? You must choose. What happened in your body?
Hmm.
Did you get tight? Did you get excited? Did you smile? Did you move away from us? Because sometimes our bodies, before we even have that decision in our mind, moves towards the thing that we want or that we know is good. So if we can even pay attention to those moments, we just have a more holistic understanding of what it is that truly we want and we need,
Yeah.
what is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I used to do those kind of games like the Would You Rather games in youth group, but I bet I didn't cause a reaction in the body because I would be like, do you prefer cheeseburgers or hamburgers? There's probably not a really
Mm.
real reaction there. But I want to dig in. And by the way, listeners, you can hear my dog, right? So eventually Eden will probably make her debut here on the podcast. I'm in a Pentecostal denomination, right? So we lean into like spiritual gifts and how does God use the gifts of the Spirit in services, and talking about this body stuff. Like a few weeks back, we were in the middle of a service, and my wife Wendy, y'all know her as the B99, right? The better 99% of my marriage. She leans over to me in the middle of worship, and she said, hey, Paul, I feel anxious, oppressed, like I feel tight. And I don't normally feel that way. I think God's trying to tell me something in my body about what's
Mm,
going on in the body. It was like, again, if we just dismiss that, like, no, we're just about the spirit, right? Then I got to step up on the platform and like kind of deliver to the church. Like, this is what, not just my wife, but it turned out like two or three other people were feeling the same thing. So we want to pray specifically for people in the room that are kind of feeling the weight of where you are. It was a beautiful moment, right? That maybe 10 years ago I would have been like, whatever, right? But it was beautiful because she was paying attention to, like, this is not how I normally feel. Why am I feeling it now? So I love the phrase. I think Andy Stanley says it: pay attention to the tension. And so when you feel that, if you'll pay attention to it, then you start, why am I experiencing this? Why am I feeling this? Why am I nervous right now? Or why am I excited? I love that you're doing that. So can you, I'm putting you on the spot now to think practically.
okay.
So if I was coming to you and I was a client, I was a pastor, I was like, so how would I've never done that in my church with my church. How would I take some practical
Mm,
steps to implement that? Is that fair to ask you? Because I'm going to make you really think
yeah.
now.
Yeah, on the spot. That's okay. I often do this more in like classroom settings and one-on-one spaces or small group. I'm not in a pastoral role, so I will throw this at you, and then you can be like, "Well, actually, I think it might be better this way," right? As we
Okay.
spitball, to steal a phrase that my one of our friends Michaela uses regularly when they're exploring ideas. I think it's making space to be slow is the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm a fast thinker and I'm a fast talker, but the gift of slowing down, especially in community with other people, allows us, like what your wife did, right, to say, oh, this thing is happening in me, and what comes up for me is like, what's going on here? And so
Hmm.
then even as a community, to respond with, what is God inviting us to through this felt experience that she's having? And
Yeah.
maybe someone else has another piece of the puzzle if we want to stay in that like really charismatic space, which I'm pretty familiar with as well, right? Like sometimes we have different pieces of the puzzle, but when we come together, we get this beautiful image that's a gift from God.
Right.
And so I think facilitating spaces and acknowledging that there is goodness when we honor our body. Um, there's different times and theologies that have had a negative view of the experience of the body, whether it's those positive experiences or negative experiences, right? Or that nothing, that when we say the word flesh, we actually mean our literal like body, which is not always the case.
Yeah.
Um, I think the more you practice embodiment as a leader in a space, the more you'll invite those around you to engage their physical being differently, which will have a ripple effect out into your community. But I wonder, sometimes we're like, let's listen for words from God. Let's
Yeah.
watch for pictures. What if we also pay attention to our senses? What do you
Yeah.
feel right now on your skin? What are you tasting? What are you smelling? Um, what are you hearing? What do you see?
Yeah.
Beyond just what you
Man.
pro- process cognitively.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's where
Yeah.
I am. By the way, Eden says hello to all the people that are listening to the podcast. I can't see how cute she is. But I was thinking while you were talking,
Yep.
I think my dog just experienced that, right? Like she was like on the floor, like just pacing, anxious, like, what do you need? I just need you to pick me up. Right. And like I can feel even her body and of course mine now, like just, okay, this is
Yeah.
good. Right.
Yeah.
And I love that you made the distinction that, especially like in the charismatic Pentecostal movement, when we think of hearing like a prophetic, we even call it a prophetic word, right? Like we're so, I said this to my church Sunday, like Paul said in Philippians, only let us live up to what we've already attained. So maybe the better goal is not to come to church to learn something new, but to commit ourselves to doing what we already know. Like we're so
Mm,
into learning more information instead of pursuing transformation. And I think for me at
right.
least, all the just talk about just the holistic mindset and thinking about how, what am I tasting? What am I smelling? Like, I would
Yeah.
never have thought that that could actually be a way that God could communicate with me. And
Mm.
I hope this is a good way to say it. It's terrifyingly beautiful for me.
Right,
It's like,
sure.
this is really new, but I kind of dig it. And can I dig it? It's all those
Hmm.
things, right? But it's really, really fun. And it's a good segue because I wanted to ask you about this.
Yeah.
You grew up rural, so us rural people need to stick together, right? Um, Man, I'm all fascinated with rhythms and seasons, and we're talking about slowing down, and that's one thing I'm taking away. I came back from our first week at the cohort, and I told Wendy, think one thing I took away was like I thought I was going slow, but I think I need to go slower. Like just to
Mm.
really stop and breathe and exhale and be present in moments. Um, how did growing up on a farm help with that? I would imagine that it
Mm.
probably did, right? Because I don't think that things move quickly on farms.
Ooh.
Is that
I wouldn't necessarily call my life on the farm growing up slow. So we moved to a farm when I was 8. By the time I was 10, my parents were making this big shift to organic, sustainable farming. So it was a 400
okay?
acre family farm. Neither of my parents were farmers. So they were learning brand new things in their 30s, one coming from the health industry, mental health and physical health industry, and the other from HR and like, a large corporation. And they made this shift and shift to the farm, then shift to this more holistic farming practices. And the word that really impacted them at the time was sustenance, a word that they felt they heard from God was like, this will be sustenance for your family.
Hmm.
Um, and how that slowly pivoted through my junior high and high school years is we started eating whole foods. We ate in season and we ate locally. So what we ate in the summer looked really different than what we would eat in the winter. And I think there's so much goodness in that. And I admittedly am not as committed in the way that my parents were at that time or still are. But I think it taught me to be present to the space that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and to be connected to the earth and to creation. And I was the only extrovert in a family of introverts. So I also see that as how we are in spaces with with other people, right? That
Yeah.
what we surround ourselves with, what we put on our body and what we put in our body really impacts um, our lives like significantly, from the way that our bodies feel to our ability to process our emotions to how we want to show up to the things that we need. And so there's a lot of things that came out of my um, childhood, or the experience on the farm was not something I had really longed for. I missed the small town living with my best friend next door. um, but I think there's some really great gifts of being so much more connected to the earth in
Yeah.
that way, that I think led me down this path of saying, oh, a body really matters, because all of a sudden we ate differently, because all of a sudden like they would be like, don't wear polyester. Like it went down to what we put on our body.
Mm.
Um, and so I think I learned rhythm with the seasons. And
Yeah.
my parents worked a lot, which was not, farming is really hard. And
Mm-hmm.
that was hard on us as kids, how busy they were and how exhausted they were as they were trying to do a new thing and then do a new thing a different way than the majority of the people around them.
Yeah.
Um, but I am grateful even for that, because they had to learn patience and losing control. Like you can't mow hay if it's going to rain, and if there's a forecast of rain for the next 2 weeks, what do you do with your crop? Like there's all these things where life is out of control, that you have no control
Yeah.
over the weather, so you just sit there and you wait and you
Yeah.
wait. So I'm not, yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely inform trust and patience and all of that. You said something really interesting that stood out to me, that you would eat different food based on the season. And yeah, I don't That's not a part of, I mean, when I think of seasons, I think of weather, right? Like, oh,
Right.
it's colder in the fall and the winter than it is in the spring and the summer. But wow, what a, like everything in your life was, it sounds like was related to the season that you were in, which is
Absolutely.
kind of beautiful because it
Yeah.
marked them. I mean, it's beautiful to me. I didn't live it, so it's okay if you say it wasn't beautiful. But
I can look back on the things that weren't beautiful and it doesn't negate the things that are, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Like
yeah,
there are things that were certainly really hard through that. But there are lots of good things. And in our culture, like season doesn't impact it impacts the price of our food more than our accessibility, like access to
right,
food. Like I can buy strawberries all year long. They might be $1 for a quart in June, and then they're $7 a quart in December, right?
right,
It impacts price more than it does availability, at least where I live. But
yeah,
I don't think the rest of the world still eats like the way we do, right? We just have access to so many different foods and so many altered foods. But think about what grows in your area in the summer that there's just tons of. And
hmm,
so around, tomatoes are one that grow here that are just like crazy prolific, and zucchini. And we would eat those constantly, like July through September. And then we would keep all of our potatoes and our squash down in the root cellar. And we
hmm,
would eat a lot of that through the winter when we're colder anyway. Like I'm living in central Indiana. So we have 4 seasons with pretty extreme temperatures,
yeah,
like 100-degree variance over the course of a year. So that made it easy to mark those moments where, oh, we're going to shift and now we're in soup season.
yeah,
We still carry
yeah,
some of it.
yeah. We have 4 seasons here in North Carolina too, but usually all in the
Yep.
same day. So yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible,
Yeah.
terrible. Um,
I talked about forecasts, but they're never right. So,
yeah, yeah. I would love to have that job. That'd be awesome. Like I get
right.
paid to be
Oof.
wrong, and people still come
Right.
back and ask for more. Um,
Yeah.
how does it impact your coaching and your spiritual direction? I mean, those just the way that you learn to kind of appreciate seasons, and because I'm thinking as a pastor, I want people to appreciate that there are different seasons spiritually,
Mm,
right? Like there are
yeah.
seasons of not much growth that we can see. There's things happening under the soil, or maybe I don't I I don't even want to say this because I don't do organic farming, but I would imagine there's like, we need to rejuvenate, that's the word, the soil,
Mhm.
get it prepared
Sure.
for, like, there's always stuff happening,
Right.
but we are so geared to what we can see, right? So if I don't see growth, I call it under the soil growth and above the soil growth. And some plants grow a long time under the soil before you ever see a thing. Um,
Yeah.
how, how do you help people kind of navigate that and appreciate, or do you? I mean,
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I don't know that I name it in that way.
hmm,
I have had my own experiences, dark night of the soul experiences,
yes,
one at pretty young. And I remember being so in my college, like undergrad, so early 20s, late teens, and just being so overwhelmed by like, what is happening here? Why do all the things I thought were true don't feel true anymore?
hmm,
And there were people who came alongside me that reminded me and spoke over me that this is actually really good.
hmm,
This is hard, but it is good.
yeah,
And I think that is what shows up, especially because I work with that age bracket now, right? That kind of liminal transitory moment where you're no longer a kid and you're becoming an adult and you're trying to figure out what you want to hold on to still,
right,
is when you come in and everything's falling apart, which is maybe feels like the fall and winter season where you don't see the fruit and you feel a little bit cold and everything's a little bit gray, and but you need that. We can't live in spring all the time. It's exhausting. Like I
hmm,
think of spring seasons I've lived in where I've been full of life and excited for new things and birthing new things. And then you need the fall to like wrap in the heated blanket by the fire and be reminded that um, it's also good to be less stimulated,
yes,
because then that's when the deep work happens. My spiritual director and dear, dear spiritual mother in my life talks about embers and flames, that we need
Mm-hmm.
embers that are that slow burn. Sometimes there are no flames, and all we have is the little bit of the slow burn. And those are the rhythms and the practices that carry us through all the seasons. And then we
Yeah.
have the flames where sometimes it's big and other people can see it and it dances. And that's when the reach gets a little farther and there's excitement and there's breeze and blowing and movement. But you can't have flame without ember. And eventually
Mm.
ember does turn into flame. And I love that image
Yeah,
of,
that's a good metaphor.
yeah, it sustains me often. So
Yeah.
I think that shows up in my practices of saying all of these seasons, you're not the season you're in, but the season you're in is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I heard somebody say this one time, but I've never been able to find it in documentation. So I'm just going to say it now, and then you can correct me right here in front of all of my listeners. But I heard somebody say that a tree is most vulnerable when it's producing fruit.
I have heard
And
that as well.
yeah, but it goes along with what you're saying. We can't live in spring all the time. Like
Mhm.
it is exhausting. Like if we're always producing, hello, you pause break for the puppy. If we're always producing, then yeah, when do we rest? Right? Rest is a rhythm too. It's a gift from God,
Mhm.
and we're on a journey at church going through some of the practicing the way practices from John Mark Comer, and we just got done with Sabbath, and it's like yeah, I watch everybody. I mean, I'm the same way. We're just nodding our heads as we watch the
Yep.
video, going, "Yeah, this is what we need." And then we had the discussion. It's like, how do we do that? We're just so geared to be busy all the time. Like we wear
Mhm.
busyness like a badge. Like we get some medal
Mhm.
for it. And how are you? I'm busy. Like, oh, I'm starting to say, oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you don't need to be so.
Mhm.
Are there are seasons where we're busy, but then there's got to be seasons
Yes.
where we're not, right? There's got to be this rhythm so that we're refreshed, right? I think that's the beauty of just the Sabbath rhythm that God instituted. Like, hey, I made you, I created you. Like we're talking the
Mhm.
holistic body thing. Like all of you, I know what you need. Trust me, and
Mm.
yeah, I think I'm learning to do that. Right? Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you
Mm.
see a lot of that on campus because you're right. You are dealing
Yes.
with an age group that is they've got the energy, they've got the passion, they might not have any
Yep.
direction where to go with it, but don't tell me to slow down, right? And we're the
Right.
ones going, maybe slow down.
Right.
And
Right. It
yeah,
is a
I'm
hard arrow to
sure.
do that.
Yeah, I'm
It
sure
is.
you guys see that all the time. But I'm so
Yeah.
glad that
Learning to
they
hone, right? We're learning to
yes.
hone our direction. And we do that our whole lives, but particularly in the gusto of our 20s, right? Because
Yeah.
we need people to be in their 20s. We need their energy. They change the
Oh,
world. They change the world.
yes. Yeah. I
And then
read an
we need to
article by
hone.
a pastor who well, he's older and getting ready to retire, and he was asking God, like, what's the next new wineskin for the church going to look like? And he felt
Mm,
like God said, "Don't ask me about new wineskins because your generation already had one and it's cracking." He
mm,
said, "The new generation has the new wineskin, but your generation has the wine to pour into it." And I was like, man, there's another beautiful picture, right? Like you're
mhm.
dealing with like 20 somethings. They've got flexibility and they've got the wineskin and they might want to do
Mhm.
things that look really strange, but they need guidance and wisdom and spiritual
Mhm.
direction and life coaching. They need people to help hone them, guide them. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful that you're doing that.
Mm.
Makes me feel even better about the next generation. I already think they're awesome, but I
Yeah.
love that you have the chance to kind of help guide them along the way. It's
Yeah. It's a
beautiful.
privilege. It's brings me a
Yeah.
lot of joy. Selfishly, I like it. So
Um, so can I ask you about weird voices? Because it stood
yeah,
out
you
to me,
can.
right? Like, just to make sure I get this right. Your website said that students like to say that you lean into or appreciate or something. But weird voices is what stood out, and I just wanted to ask you what it was about.
Now, admittedly, my website is a little outdated. It needs some love. But back when I was working more in campus ministries, I was overseeing a team of chaplains and our student body chaplains and hall chaplains who do spiritual formation work in their residence halls. And I think my students today would probably say something similar. But and my children, I have 13, 11, and 8-year-olds and 8-year-old kiddos. And I love accents because I love theater. And so just kind of putting on these other personas and moments just kind of feels loose and free to me.
Yeah.
So I have done musical theater, especially recently with my kiddos. So I played Mrs. Wormwood in Matilda, if you're familiar with that
Mm-hmm.
musical, and she has a ridiculous song 2 times, but that strong English accent. So when I'm silly or even when I'm angry, sometimes I will change the way I show up in a space because it's relieving to me and it makes me laugh. And I love to laugh. I love to have
Yeah.
fun. So
And you can
it's,
see Eden set up because she's like, I need to hear one of these weird voices. Because when I read it, I was like, are we talking about weird voices in your head? But you're talking about
oh,
like weird accent voices, right?
yes, like, I don't know. Let's see. Um, yes. So perhaps, in that character, I might just start talking to my students in some sound of voice, or just be like, hello, everyone, welcome to class today, especially if I'm working with kids, because they think that's more fun. Or if I'm my kiddos tell me that when I'm really angry, I come down here and I talk like this, like you
Mm,
have a different, I don't know if you can hear that
yeah.
clearly enough, but
Yes.
we all have the things that we do with our voices. But yeah, it will come naturally. I'm sure over the next 2.5 years, you'll hear it start to sneak out as we spend more time in our cohorts together. Um, but I think even our tone of voice can tell us how we're feeling just a little bit before we know.
Yes. Yeah. For
And
sure.
play is important to me, play and
Yeah.
whimsy. And uh, so that shows up in the way I talk to people.
Yeah. I think it's a lost art, and almost so much so that people think it's a waste of time. Right.
Mm,
Um, like if I take a day off and then somebody said, what'd you do today? And if I said, nothing, or I went running and read a book, yeah, but what'd you
mhm.
do?
Beautiful.
And what they mean is like, well, what'd you accomplish? I accomplished doing nothing, right? It's a good thing.
Right.
What's funny about these weird voices is I also like to, from time to time, talk with a British accent, but I can't. So we,
So you made me do one. I think you need to just try it a little bit here, Paul.
I can't. I can't. So but I'll tell you a story about it. So we're in church. I'm preaching, and I said something, and I don't know how other preachers are, but I say out loud a lot of things, but I think about 30 times more things in my head, and I'm learning how to not say everything. But whatever I said, I heard it in a British accent in my head, and so I said it in a British accent out loud. And we actually have one of our staff members. She's from the UK, and she was
Hmm.
sitting. I can still see her. She's sitting to my far left at the back of the worship center, and it's a small room. It holds like 250 people. And she literally said out loud, "Don't ever do that again." And I was like, "Didn't it sound British?" And she was like, "No." So my apparently
Mm-mm.
my British accent, which sounds so good in my head, when I do it, it sounds just like I'm doing it right now. So the only thing I can say that has any kind of an accent is I can say cheese fries, please, and that's all I got. And that's Australian. That's not even British. So I want to be able to speak in other accents, but I can't.
You just gotta go spend some time in community theater, Paul. You said you can dance. The two things you said you can't do, theater will help you hone those skills. Get up on stage and play a little bit.
I, I don't know if they'll have it. They might not have enough to work with if I'm there, but
Oh, a willing
who
heart.
knows?
joyful spirit.
Yeah. A willing heart, joyful spirit. Yes. See, even Eden she was like, she just whined. She was like, don't do it, Dad. Don't do
Or
it.
are you misinterpreting those signs? I think maybe you are. It was a bark
Yeah.
to go do it. Go do it.
Maybe. I mean, you're just taking over this entire podcast, aren't you? The entire
Well,
interview.
she's cute. She's very
Do you want to
cute.
ask a
So it,
last? You want to ask a last question? I love how you're looking at me. Like, why don't you ask a last question? Can I ask you about your photography?
sure.
I did send Maggie this question ahead of time, and if you don't have an answer, it's fine. But I was just curious if you have a moment or like a picture you took and you were because you like to help people, and I've got a photographer in my church who does the same
Mm,
thing. He just loves shooting
mm,
people, like photo shooting people, um, and letting them see, like he sees heaven through the lens. It's beautiful, right? And
mhm,
he captures it. I don't know how y'all do this, but
mm,
have you had a moment like, where it was, we overuse, that was a spiritual moment, but a moment where you're
mm.
like, wow, I took this picture or I captured this moment and realized, wow, it was kind of I call them thin places. It was kind of a holy moment where like heaven and
Mm,
earth got really close. Um,
mhm.
and if you don't, it's fine too. I
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah. I think a lot of the through line for me in photography, coaching, spiritual direction, all of it is that we really start in a place where we just become aware of what's around us and what's within
Hmm.
us. And so with photography, capturing a picture is just this moment that we
Mm.
freeze, right? Um, and there's one family in particular. They have twin boys, mom, dad, and twin boys. And from the first birthday until their sixth birthday this year, I've taken photos of them in the same place at the same month, right around their birthday. And
Wow.
their family all has neurodivergence of some sort, which means that some
Okay.
places are better for them than other places are, and or safer or more welcoming. And what I have loved is getting to be a witness to the way their family has changed and shifted and adjusted as new information comes into their home and new ways of being are named and honored. And so when I took their photos this fall back in October, and then kind of just peek back at what we've done every year since, just be like, look what has changed. Look what has been good. Look what hard things have come that have invited you to shift. But I think it's that's kind of the storyline of the moment, and also
Hmm.
just getting to be present to families. Um, I think really family. I do a lot of I have done commercial and families and weddings. And I love having those moments with particularly young kids where they just be free. We are not everyone's coming in matching outfits. We aren't sitting down and posing. We aren't looking and smiling necessarily, but we're just existing, and then we capture it. And then you get those all over your house or on your phone, or to share with your family or put on the Christmas card, whatever you're doing with the photos, right?
Yeah.
Um, you're getting to be aware of what's there to eh, celebrate the beauty that we see, and then choose to, like, this, here's the coaching and spiritual direction, like, here's the beauty, here's the invitation, what do we want to do with it? And maybe that's where we journey somewhere a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um,
Yeah, me too.
this has helped me a lot. This has really helped me a lot. Even even as I've been asking you questions, I can feel myself like I'm kind of, I feel like and
Mm.
you're just slow and calm and thank you, right? Like
Mm.
even you're perfectly positioned to do what you do.
Mm.
You're
Thanks.
you're coaching me and you don't even know you're doing it. Like
Ah,
just, hey,
thanks.
Paul, breathe, like
Mm.
relax, like be in the moment. I love that you have photography to help you do that, which
Yeah.
is an awesome way to think of it. Cause again, we've kind of had this theme throughout the whole interview. Everybody has a phone. So everybody has a camera. So everybody thinks they can take great pictures, but snapping a picture and capturing a moment, sound like two different things.
It can be a sacred act. Even with a phone, it can
Yeah.
still be a sacred act. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a woman in our church that went with us on a mission trip to India. She was a professional photographer, and we just as a church said, we're going to pay for you to come, and we don't need you to capture us, but we want you to come and capture what you see, how God's moving on that trip. Man, those are some phenomenal pictures, you know.
I bet they were.
I mean, I had good pictures too off my phone, but they weren't like that. And because she just like, okay, God, in this moment, I'm asking you to like direct my lens, direct my eye, help me capture what you are doing in this moment. Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, and appreciate that you see it that way.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think I see it that way because I need it to be that way, right? Like
Yeah.
we pursue the things sometimes because we need them.
Right.
All these different
Right.
things, I need them. They serve my well-being, and so then feel like, well, maybe someone else will benefit from
Yeah.
these too. So let's see if I can offer them to other people, and great if I can make a little money to support my family on the way. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, listen, as somebody who is, like you said, you're always on the go, always looking for new things, trying new things. I'm so glad that you and I got to cross paths. So at least for 3 years,
same.
I'm going to get to hang out with you, see you more, hear more what you're doing. So thankful for how you're using the gifts that God's given you in your life. And I'm thankful for the way you're impacting students there on the campus. Anything you want to add before we say goodbye?
I think just that I'm jealous of you, Paul, getting all these one-on-one conversations with all our cohort members. I've really enjoyed listening in on them. So thanks for inviting us in and helping us even learn about each other more, and get to witness how each person is just doing the work that they're called to do. So it's such a pleasure. I'm so glad I've met you as well. And thanks for the chat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for saying yes to it. It's been great talking with you. I told you that Maggie's an amazing gift to the church, right? And if you're anything like me, that conversation didn't just land in your head. It landed somewhere deeper, right? Maybe it served something in your body. Maybe it named a season that you're in. Maybe it reminded you that leadership isn't just about vision and execution, but presence, pacing, and paying attention. Here's what I keep coming back to. You are not a machine powered by information. You are a whole person, body, soul, mind, imagination, loved by God and led by the Spirit. And sometimes the most faithful thing you and I can do isn't push harder. It's slow down. Notice what's happening inside us and ask, God, what are you inviting me into right now? If this episode was helpful, would you do me a favor? Would you like it and subscribe it and share it with another leader who you think would maybe need permission to breathe, rest, or move a little slower? And as always, keep showing up, y'all. Keep listening for God, not just in your thoughts, but in your whole life. I appreciate that you have spent this time with me and my friend Maggie. Keep giving God your best, and He will take care of the rest.